So apparently you're not supposed to swim here. Whoops! Should you ask your boss to be a reference for a potential new job? Yes or no? So while your boss may know some good things about you, they might also know some bad things, like some bad habits. And this is if they're a good boss. So some of these bad habits could be something like whether you show up on time, whether you know how to do your job well, whether you can get your job done quickly, if you're respectful of others, if you smell, because believe it or not, smell is one of the leading causes of getting fired. You heard it here first. If you do what you're told, it can also matter. If your job, or if your boss says to the person you're giving the reference to that you don't do your job done, or if you don't do what you're told, that's definitely a big no-no. Don't hire this guy. And if you're sick a lot, so oftentimes people are sick when they're not actually sick. So that if you're sick a lot, that can be a bad indicator, and your boss might tell this to the person you're trying to hire, or to the person you're trying to get hired for. So your boss might tell all these negative facts to your future employer if they like telling the truth, and oftentimes people like telling the truth if it doesn't hurt them. And in this case, they don't really have anything to gain by telling the truth unless they're a really close friend of yours and you can trust them with your life. So getting your boss as a reference for a new job also indicates to your current boss that you want to leave your current work, which is probably a bad thing. So your current employer might start looking for a replacement for you, even though you haven't left yet. And the reason they do this is so they don't have any downtime in their whatever you do at your job, because downtime means money lost. And of course they would have to train someone else, but it's better than the downtime of not having someone working for that period of time. So your current employer might also lower your hours once you tell them that you want them to be a reference. And they'll do this so that your other team members, or if you work on a team, someone else will be able to work on the stuff that you're working on. And this lower hours means less money for you. So you don't want this to happen. So your employer might also forget about you because you're a reference to them, or you ask them to be a reference. So they might forget about you, and they might even forget about what you're doing and give you less attention, which could be a good and bad thing, but it's probably best not to avoid this. And the final reason why you shouldn't tell your boss that, or ask your boss to be a reference, is that they might fire you, which would probably be the worst scenario in this case, because they don't want someone to work for them who wants to leave the job, who doesn't want to work in the company anymore. So they'll fire you because you don't want to work there, and it leads to them thinking that you're just going to leave at any time, which they rather have the power and fire you then, instead of you getting fired, or instead of you leaving. So what are some other ways that you can get a reference other than your current employer, which the current employer seems the easiest because you're just already working there. So you can get a former boss, a former employer, to get a reference. This is only if you left on good terms. If you left on bad terms, stay far, far away from this, because then it could explode and you'll definitely won't get the new job. You can also get maybe a former teacher or your current teacher as a reference. Teachers are often do this for a lot of students. So our teacher or professor, they'll be a reference. So you can get maybe a senior member of your company, maybe from a different team that's not really related to anything you're working on. Maybe you get a supervisor who isn't your boss and you know well and you can trust well enough, because if they're not your boss, they don't really care that much about if you're hired or you're fired. But number one important thing is that you have to ask for permission first before you say that they're your reference. Because if you just think about it, if someone's just gets a random call asking like, who is this guy? Is he a good person to work with? What are they gonna say? They're not gonna really say very much, and they're not gonna be a good reference. So if you ask them first, and maybe you like have like set up a meeting with them so that you can prepare them on things that you did well, so that you make it easy for them to know exactly what you're good at and what you can do for the new company. So that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something. Thanks for watching.